My lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to what I suppose we will call episode 1 of our brand new Transport Fever 2 series, in which we play using only passenger transportation. Now, I have done an introductory or a preliminary episode of sorts, which you may have already seen. During that, we had a quick walk through the map, looked at all of the various towns, and we set ourselves up for the task at hand. So what we're going to do today is actually get started in earnest. There was no building done in the previous episode. It was very much just an introduction. If you want to check it out, then it will be included in this playlist, so you can find it through there. But if you haven't seen it, then not to worry. As I said, it was purely introductory remarks and outlining overall plans and ambitions. So let's get started straight away. So we'll bring up the user interface. So obviously we're right at the start of 1950 and we only have 30 million, which is our initial starting amount, the starting loan. I think we're going to start here in Thurrock, simply because there's 1, 2, 3 towns within close proximity, and then there's a further 3 towns in the middle distance. So there's a good possibility, or there should be high demand for passenger services in this area because we can easily link up to some nearby cities. So we'll start off simple, and I think we'll do a line from Thurrock down to the city of Hull, just down here. Now, of course, there's absolutely no infrastructure in terms of industries on the map at all, so we can't use that as a bedrock basis for our company. So we have to make sure that our passenger lines are making us as much profit as they possibly can. So we'll start here and head down to Hull with our first passenger service. We just need to determine whereabouts we want to place our rail stations. So we're back in the United Kingdom, so we've got the UK themed passenger stations, which is what we're going to be using, and I think we will use blue trim on these stations, because we know, if you saw the introductory episode, beg your pardon, we said that Thurrock will probably be on our main line. So all the stations that we have on the main line, we will have as building size 3. And immediately we will go for 4 tracks. And I think platform length will probably go for around about 240 meters. Let's have long canopy. And we may as well start off with high-speed tracks straight off the bat. We are in 1950, and of course we will be using catenary straight away as well, so then there's no need at a later point to go through and upgrade our lines to allow us to use electrified trains. So in terms of where we want this station to be, I'm thinking we would have it maybe around about here. Yeah, that should be fine, like that, because that sets us up in both directions to head northwards and southwards, and we can also swing some of these outer platforms to go to these nearby outlying towns such as Rugby and Staveley. So let's get it all connected up, and we will use these medium capacity streets for the front of our station connection. In fact, what I'm tempted to do is actually go for a bus or tram station as our connection, like this. Let's just make sure we get it lined up as level as we can. Hey, we can't get it perfectly level, but that looks good enough. So if we do that, it has an active connection, so they are linked together. But then what we'll do is immediately go ahead and elongate this bus station frontage like so. So it occupies the full width of the station frontage. This road might need reworking, so we're just going to demolish all of that, and I know it's going to be at a hefty cost because we're going to have to remove some industries to do that, which is not a problem. We have enough money to justify it at the moment, but it's certainly not something we want to be making a full-time habit of. And then we've got a bit more space to have our station entrances and exits without having to squeeze them in and having them look a little bit ugly, shall we say. Following that, we can then extend the entrances and exits to the nearby road infrastructure, and then we probably want to look to upgrade these as well, like so. And for now we'll avoid the high costs where it's going to remove or relocate some buildings, so we'll just do it like that for the time being. I think we can probably and safely do away with these traffic lights right here, so we'll get rid of those immediately. I don't think we have any over that way. No, we don't. So that enables us to get a direct bus transfer from the station to run some bus services in the city itself. But for now, let's worry about having this connected up to the first city, which will be that of Hull. Now, I think what we'll do at Hull is a terminus station, because to the south there is nowhere else for the lines to run onto. So let's use the same UK style, and again we'll use the blue trim because Hull will be on the main line. We might want to demolish that road. It's going to also demolish a building, which is unfortunate but cannot be avoided. And can we get that flush and parallel with the road? It looks like we can. So we'll put the Hull station just there. And the first thing we'll do, of course, is connect these together. Again, we'll go straight for the high speed and the catenary on our lines, save them to upgrade them at a later point. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the usual setup here, where we have our lines that come out from the station remain at the same height, and that'll allow us to get nice smooth crossing points put in. And let's give them a bit of a run off here like that, and then we'll cross that over and we'll get as high a speed as we can. We don't want to push this out much further on a straight run, because we do have to curve around this mountain here, and we want to be mindful of that, and obviously the speeds that we're getting on that curvature. So we'll go to about something like that. That should work quite nicely indeed. If we set that to a double slip switch, I think that allows us access. So if we're on the left hand drive, no, it doesn't. The one platform we cannot access is this outer platform here. We can access all of the others. We've got to connect that one in, so let's just do that. There we go. So we can access all of these three. It's just this one which we cannot. So what we'll do is put a crossover there, just like that. So as we're coming into this station, we can use this double slip switch and head down here, use it again and head down this way. We can go straight on, and now we can use this newly installed crossing point here to merge onto the outer track to get into this platform. Consequently, as we're departing, if we come from this platform, we can go all the way over. If we're on this platform, we can go all the way over. If we're on this platform, we can use a double slip switch and go all the way over. And if we're on the outer platform, then we're already on the left hand side anyway, so no crossing over is required. So now what we'll do is we'll run this line over to Thurrock. Let's just see what height we are currently at over here. 106 meters. And then let's see what sort of heights we're dealing with over at the station itself. It's not quite giving us a height reading yet. Let's just stretch it out a little bit further and it should. 104 meters. So we are in the correct sort of ballpark area for meeting up with that station without too many issues. So what we could probably end up doing, in fact, yeah, what was that down to 104 meters? Yes, it was. If we run the tracks down to 104 in terms of their height, then we know if we then maintain this height, like so, we're going to meet up with our platforms with no more gradient changes. It does mean we're going to have a cutting through this hillside and a little tunnel here, but that's not the end of the world. I prefer to do that rather than have to have more gradient changes as we approach the station. Another tunnel there. That could cause us issues. Although I suppose we do have room here for a junction for a branch line over to Rugby. So yeah, we'll go for a tunnel there. Just wanting to plan ahead and make sure we can lay in other connecting tracks without too many issues, and I think we can get away with that. So what we'll do here then is run these two lines into the first two platforms straight away, like so. And then we want to bring these two into contention as well. So let's, or do we? Maybe we'll reserve, say, this outer platform for a local service that runs through to Staveley, or comes in from Staveley and then comes down into Hull. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So what we'll need for now then is just a diamond. Will we need a diamond? Let me just think about this. Well, we'll certainly need a one-way crossover so we can get onto platform 2 if we want to. And then let's just swing our view around. Yes, we will need a diamond, because if we do use platform 1, we don't have a way to get back over to the left hand side for the return journey down to Hull. So let's give that diamond. There we go. So that gives us full utilization of the first two platforms. We'll keep these ones as empty for the time being. And now we can go ahead and put ourselves some signals in place. So once again, we do have these UK aspect signals available, which is what we're going to be using for this series. So what we want is a one-way signal that marshals our approach to the station. We want it on the left-hand side because we are using left-hand drive, so we'll pop that there. And then what we also want is maybe one of the shorter ones, just to mix it up a little bit, is a couple of two-way signals here, which will allow our trains to begin to pull away from the platform, even if a train is occupying the block and has just departed. Now let's switch to one way, and we'll just use two aspect signals for our blocking signals on the line. So we'll put a couple there, and then we'll jump down to about here and put a couple there. We'll avoid putting any in the tunnel for now and just do that. Another block for the tunnel itself, like that. A block just as we exit this tunnel. And now we're on approach to the station, so what we'll do is we'll switch to a 3-aspect light, and that can go there, and that can control approach and entry into the station. And then we want to consider, in fact what we'll do as well, is we'll have a short block there to enable this block to be as short as possible, so then if we have any trains that are waiting to depart Hull, they're not having to wait until the train gets all the way over here. They can clear this block and then the train behind can start to depart the station as well. Right, so now we want two-way signals. So let's go ahead and we'll put a two-way signal there to protect anything that's crossing this junction here. Similarly, we'll have the same there for trains departing the outer platform. We'll put one there because we have this crossing point which we want to form a single block. That one there as well. And we may also, it might cause issues overhanging, and if it does we'll remove it, but we'll pop one there as well, so that'll marshal anything coming on this double slip switch and moving down there, and allow the trains to wait here in case a train is coming from platform 2, 3 or 4 and they're crossing at this double slip switch and moving on outwards. So that should work as an initial startup. We of course need a depot, and I think what we will do, because this has access to everything, we're going to put a depot down here. So let's get our depot building, and where is the best place to put it? I think, let's see, is that too high up? I think it is. I'm going to have to spend some money and terraform this then, because what I want to do is have the depot just merge in somewhere around here. Because we're going to have fully interconnected lines, then any train from this depot should be able to get anywhere on the map. And in fact, if we say we're going to do that, then it will force us to do that and make sure everything is nicely connected. I think what we'll do though is if we pop the depot there, I don't want to put it on this side because we might want to expand the station outwards that way. So if we come this side, and if we have it connecting after that signal, maintain your current height, like so, then this can have its own dedicated signal. So if there's anything departing the station and we're purchasing a new train, it can wait here safely and allow things to come and go in and out of the station as they desire. So let's use a 4-way one this time, or rather a 4-aspect signal, like that. Okay, so that's our first bit of rail infrastructure in place. Before we go ahead and get the train running, let's get ourselves a very basic, very simple bus system in both of these cities. So we'll have our buses come in, obviously to the station here, and then they will just do a simple loop around the city itself. These bus services and the styles that we're using, they will change over time, but to get the ball rolling, just having simple loops will work fine. Over here, what I would like to do is have this road become one way from there. I'd like it to be a little bit shorter, but unfortunately that's as short as we can get it. And then curve back around on itself. It's again, we're going to have to remove a building for increased costs, but such is the way of things. So that way they have to come in this way, loop around here, and then they can go back into the town. Now we can get a bus station. Eventually, again, we'll do what we've done over in Thurrock with a full bus station rather than a bus stop. But to start us off, a simple bus stop will work fine. And again, this is just to get things rolling. This will all be changed a little bit later on. And again, it's just a simple loop system around the city. We want a couple of depots, so let's put a road depot out here for Hull, and let's give ourselves one over here for Thurrock, like so. And let's set up our first bus lines. So this is obviously going to be the Thurrock system. There we go. We probably don't need to bother with the bracket tagging for this because we don't have any freight to deal with at all. It's all going to be passenger. So this will be the Thurrock Bus Loop 01. Not the most imaginative of names, but it's going to be fine to get us started. We want passenger, and let's have these sorted by capacity. So the Gaggenau, in fact we want it in descending, so yes. It looks like the Daimler is the way forward, although it's not quite as... Maybe we'll go we'll go for the Sauertuscher. It does have slightly inferior capacity, but the speed is much better. And to start things off, we'll go for 4 of those. They will be the same colour as the line, which is not quite that colour. It's a bit brighter than that. There we go. And they can go on the Thurrock bus loop 01. Now we'll set up the Hull bus loop. New line. And again, it's very basic, very simple setup to start with. But as we've said, it's something that we'll look to upgrade and modernise and tweak as we progress. But just to enable passengers to get in and out of the station, it's going to serve a purpose. So this will be the Hull bus loop 01. Once again, we'll go for the Sauertuschers, and we'll go for 4 of those. Once again, colour them red, which is the colour of the Hull bus loop, and set them on their way. And now we can look at starting our first passenger service. So we want to come from, well, it doesn't really matter, but we'll go Thurrock to Hull, and that's it for now. This will be expanded later on, of course. And this line, we will have it form, or it will eventually form into our main line. So we will call it that. This will be the north-south, or the north-south main line. And that's all it's doing for now. Not much of a main line, just calling at 2 cities going point to point, but as I said, over time we will include more stations in its orders as we progress up to Lowestoft and the likes. So now we want to get ourselves our first train. Now we want to be mindful, of course, that without the huge income that we can get from freight, we want to be careful as to how much we're spending on our passenger service. Now 1 million a year isn't too bad, especially for a 90 mile per hour return, and that looks like the fastest one. Let's have a look. Top speed, yes, the Class A4, the Mallard, is the fastest we have. And yeah, as I said, 1.25 million a year isn't too cost prohibitive, so we'll use the Mallard. And well, in fact, since we're limited to 75 miles an hour, maybe we'll go for a cheap locomotive. Maybe the Flying Scotsman then. We'll start off with a Flying Scotsman, because that's in line with the top speed of our carriages, and it saves us about £200,000 per year, or $200,000 per year in running costs. So what we're using the BC4. Our mainline colour is this magenta, so we will colour these the same. And to start with, we'll just have 2 coaches, and then we can tweak that to suit as time progresses and the line popularity hopefully increases. We'll go with 2 to start with. Again, that can be adjusted to suit as things pick up, hopefully, as we progress. And that will eat up pretty much the remainder of our initial starting loan. So let's set those on the north-south main line. What we'll also do is we will name our mainline trains, and as is my standard, they will bear the names of some of my Patreons. So this will be the Campin Gaji, and this one will be the Kylie Brooks. Isaiah Ramos, your train will follow as soon as we have a 3rd train. So don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. And then we will assign them onto the north-south main line. So all we have to do now is wait and see what sort of income we're going to be generating. So to do that, we'll pause the calendar, but we'll accelerate the overall game speed to 4 times acceleration, and then we can see what sort of demand we're having and also what sort of costs we're going to be incurring here. what we'll do is we'll turn off both floating numbers, because it is possible to still see the floating numbers for your trains or your vehicles if you have them, if you have this window open. So I guess no passengers as of yet, but I imagine that will start to change once the service gets up and running proper. I mean, if you look at this, we do have a lot of traffic between Thurrock and Hull, so there is the demand there. We just have to give the AI time to recalculate their pathfinding algorithm, and as we can see, our first passengers have just arrived at Hull station. So the Kylie Brooks, I imagine, will be the first train to pick up a passenger. So we'll keep the we'll pin it there, and let's also keep open. Let's also open not the Thurrock signal. Let's also open the Campin Gaji. So you've got 2 people. Let's see, are you going to pick up? Yes, you are. You've also got 2. So we can see what we're going to make for 2 passengers. And if we wanted to, we could then extrapolate that to 40 to see what a full load will make us. As I said, because we don't have that base income from the freight game, we have to be very careful here. So you're making 23,000, so about 11,500 then per passenger per journey between these 2. So you're really going to have to haul a lot of passengers per year in order to break even, because the running cost of the train alone is up there at $1 million, or just over $1 million. So we'll keep those 2 open. What we'll also do is just open our line statistics, and we can see here, so far, not so good. These should start to pick up though. Once things start flowing, I mean, we can already see over here in Thurrock, we have people wanting to use the bus system. So as soon as this starts to pick up, and that will happen over time, we should see these numbers hopefully creep into the positive. And there we go, look, the Thurrock bus loop is now bringing in a positive balance per year. Not enough to offset either of those, unfortunately, but it's certainly a positive start for the Thurrock bus loop. It's just a matter of letting it bed in and letting, as I said, the AI recalculate their preferred mode of transport for getting between these 2 cities. As we can see now, both of our bus loops are now bringing us positive income each year. Not a great deal, but it's better than nothing. And again, it isn't enough to cover the costs of the north-south main line. However, we can see on both of the trains now, the amount of passengers we are hauling is slowly starting to pick up. I mean, what we could do to save ourselves some running costs each year is temporarily reduce both of these services to a single coach. But I'm disinclined to do that at this time, especially while they're still picking up in popularity. Although we seem to have plateaued a little at around about these numbers here per journey. Maybe we would be better off with 1 train, but again, I'm loath to do that at this point in time. Thankfully, the losses are being offset somewhat by this here, although it isn't by a lot at all. Although that's now nearly into the 20s, so nearly at half capacity there. Although again, the amount of people being picked up at Thurrock remains somewhat low. Now that could just be because the bus capacity, as we can see, a lot of people want to head to the station, which is named the Thurrock Transfer. But I think the problem we're having at the moment with our buses is that as the bus arrives, and we'll pin this one as a demonstration, it's already at full capacity by the time it gets to this one. And yes, while some people will want to disembark at this station, not all 10 of them will. So we don't have the room to pick up as many people as we would like. Now, a brute force solution to that is to simply put more buses onto your system. If we want to do that, we're going to have to borrow some more money. So I think we'll borrow another couple of million just to get us positive. And if we click this bus here, manage the vehicle, we have 4 at the moment. Just as brute force, we'll just double that to 8. It does mean we might have some journeys where the buses are running with 0 passengers, but if we can eat into this waiting amount of people here, which is ever growing, now up to 46 people who are wanting to go to the station, then it's going to be worthwhile. The more people we can get to the station, obviously the better it's going to be, because then the more people our trains are going to be picking up and transporting. So the running costs of the trains have come down somewhat. It was in excess of 2 million initially, now it's just above 1 million. It just did jump up a little bit there. But as I said, the more people we can get to the Thurrock station, then the more money is available, or the greater the pool of money available to our trains in terms of how many passengers they can pick up. How many are you going to drop off? I imagine pretty much all 10 of you will want to go to the station. Let's see. Not quite, but a good amount. One thing I am going to do at this point is just remove the traffic lights that we have here, because they're going to cause a little bit of slowdown on our buses, and those ones there. That allows our buses to come through a lot faster, as we can see, which is great. How are you doing up here? So we are eating into this pool of passengers now. It was in the blue numbers, it was about 88, 89. It's dropped to about 60. And as you can see, each bus is now able to pick up a little bit more in terms of passengers, so we can get people flowing into our station that little bit faster. As we can see, we're now into double digits pickup from Thurrock. We've got 15 heading to Hull. In terms of passengers from Hull, we're doing pretty well. We're now over at, oh, and look at that, much better sort of pickup there at 29 passengers. So hopefully we should see these very soon starting to break even. How are the stations doing at Hull? Pretty well. There's nothing that's drastically overcrowded at this point, so that's all fine. And we've got 16 at the station in Hull, and oh, it's just picking up. Yeah, again, we're over 50% capacity now when we pick up from Thurrock, so I think chucking those extra buses on this service was certainly a step in the right direction. The problem we do have at the moment, as we can see, is the amount of traffic that we have coming through Thurrock is quite high. So we don't have the money, but we could borrow the money and increase the road capacities down here, especially on the roads where our buses are travelling. That should allow them to flow through the city a little bit faster, and the faster we can get them through to the city, then the faster we can get them to the station, and hopefully then the sooner we can get these trains making money, although it looks like the Campin Gaji is very close to breaking even. And we, ooh, maybe not now. Ooh, no, we should break even on this. Yes, there we go. We've gone positive. So that's a landmark there, our first positive return. And if we can keep up these sort of passenger numbers, then I think we will start to see the main line become a money-making service. Although it is still going to be quite knife edge, and it's certainly not something we can rest our laurels on. And we'd want to keep an eye on and see where we can make those improvements in terms of, well, the income that these trains are bringing in. So I think this is where we'll end the first episode, because, as I keep referring to, we don't have that income from bringing in 300 tons of oil on a freight train, which obviously can get you several $1 million per journey. Then it is going to be a bit tighter in terms of finances this time around, so that's going to be an interesting element that we have to contend with. One of the big effects of that is it does mean we're going to have to be a little bit more mindful as to what vehicles we're choosing when we're selecting a new vehicle to run a line, and how many we want to run that line. When you have the backup from the freight income, you can be pretty cavalier with your passenger services. Obviously, in this instance, that's not something we're able to do. And I dare say now, if we look, yep, all 3 services are now in positive. So we've got a positive cash inflow. Well, from our lines anyway. Overall, we're still negative because we have the loan interest that we're also having to pay off. But these are certainly heading in the right direction. and the numbers of passengers are certainly starting to look a little bit brighter. And we've almost emptied this station now with our 8 buses. At some point we might have to remove some of these buses if it starts to be too cost prohibitive, but for the time being I think we're fine. Let's just sort that by name, shall we, so it doesn't keep jumping up and down around. As we can see, the Hull bus loop is at full capacity, so we might want to look at adding extra buses on that service. Everything else is doing okay. Would be nice to see some more, but that's something we're going to have to just be patient with. So like I said, we'll end it here today then. I think the next thing to do is increase the roads in Thurrock, because this traffic is really bogging down our buses. And while the people are sat on the bus, they're not sat on the train, and while they are going to give us some money from the bus journey, they're not going to give us as much as they do from a train journey. So we want to get them off the buses and onto the trains, of course. Well, not everybody's going to the train station, but the majority of them will be, I dare say. Let's have a look how many are going to... Yep, the majority are going from that station. I imagine it's going to be the same at every station. Maybe not that one. That's 50-50, but there's only 2 of them anyway. What about this one? Yes, so obviously we want to get those people to this station as quickly as we can. So let's go back to normal game speed now, and we'll hop on board the Campin Gaji, because we are just departing the city of Thurrock. Now it's only a short journey, so we will do the return. We'll go to Hull and then return for this cab ride outro. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Bit different in terms of how we manage and approach things this time around, but that all adds to the uniqueness and to the challenge, if you will, of this series. If you have enjoyed the video, then please consider hitting that like button down below. It really does help. And if you want to stay informed and up to date for new videos, then also consider hitting that subscribe button as well. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters, whose generosity is deeply appreciated. Thank you very much indeed. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.